I spent years living all the way in the box, afraid to step out, afraid to truly grab hold of my dream. And now I am breaking through, and I invite you to join me.
Your breakthrough starts now. Coming up on today's show, get ready to be inspired and transformed with our featured guests. Find out what's trending and get advice on life's daily challenges with Erica's top tips of the day. All of this and so much more coming up. So stay tuned. This is your one-stop shop for inspiration. The Erica Latrice Show. And now, here's your host, Erica.
Hello and welcome. Cue the applause if you're watching live now. You actually can throw us some with the emoji clap. I just want to welcome you to today's show. We are talking all about balance, work, launching, stepping out, self-care, everything in between. So you don't want to go anywhere. I have two powerful special guests in the Be Inspired Cafe today, and we're really starting to unpack how do you find that focus, that drive, and even that balance so that on your way to success, as you're pursuing your goals, you don't lose yourself in the process. That's what we're focusing on today. I usually drop some top tips, so I will come back with just a few tips for you all today, but I'm ready to jump straight into the Be Inspired Cafe because I feel like today is notepad worthy. Now, if you're watching live, I do have a giveaway. I'm shipping copies of my all new book, Finished, which was on back order. Now I have live. Welcome to everyone that's live. So I actually have copies that I will sign and send out to you, to our winner today. And the best way that you can win is just join the conversation. Drop a quote, an aha moment, a takeaway, share a question. And if you're watching live right now, the best thing that you can do is tag a friend, tell a friend, and share it. So I'm going to take just a short break. And when I come back, we're sharing our top tips and getting into the Be Inspired Cafe. During this break, you're going to see Wanda Coleman. She is an absolute powerful, powerful speaker, a published author, and a sponsor for today's episode where she talks about her daily devotion. So if you're looking for a little encouragement in the mornings, really early in the morning. So if you're trying to get super focused, this is for you. We're talking about taking off the makeup. And when we come back, we're going straight to the Be Inspired Cafe. What the world needs now is love and inspiration. In times like these, we need to know that God is with us and that with him, all things are possible. The word of God gives hope, increases faith, and it empowers. Powerhouse author, speaker, and ministry leader, Dr. Wanda Coleman leads a daily devotional called Empowered by the Word. And you can embark on this journey with her each day on Facebook Live and find out about other upcoming events by visiting empoweredbytheword.org. If you're watching this, so are your potential clients. I'm excited to announce an all-new season of the Erica Latrice Show. It's coming up right now, and we're looking for featured guests as well as sponsors. If you want to be a success supporter of this show, connect with our team right now by emailing info@ericalatrice.com to get more information or just support the mission of Be Inspired, to empower and inspire people all around the world with a message of hope and encouragement. Our mission is to bring you uplifting news and talk to encourage and share a platform for those who have a powerful message and looking for a place to share it. If you want to partner with the Erica Latrice Show, you can do so by emailing info@ericalatrice.com or visit ericalatrice.com/sponsor so that you can be a success supporter of this inspirational movement. All right, welcome back. So my first guest, we're about to have a blast because she and I both were backstage like grooving to the music, and I'm acting like I don't hear this every day. So our first guest is an absolute gem. She helps you, as you can see, to get carefree and to start owning your power and who you've been created to be. So welcome with me into the Be Inspired Cafe, Lisa. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Hi, I'm good. And I was digging on that music. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. That's just a sign we're going to have a good time. So Lisa, let's just kick off. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Okay, so I own a beauty company called Simple Beauty Minerals, where I offer clean, effective, natural beauty. But the thing that I'm most proud of about my company is that I try to maintain is that a small company. We grow organically because I want to work personally with my customers. That's what I love the most. That's what lights me up. And that's what I want to continue doing. I never want to get so big where I'm just, CEO and I'm not hands-on with my peeps. So that's what I'm the most proud of about my company, Simple Beauty Minerals.
I love it. And I love too, speaking about that, like when we get into this mode of like CEO and goal setting and all of these things, sometimes it can be hard to not stand for what's important to us, opposed to getting shaped by other people. So you just said that as you've been carving out how you want this thing to work for you, what would you say, what's most important to you as you journey into this entrepreneurship world, but then also keeping what's important to you personally?
Right. Well, especially when you're trying to do everything yourself, which is, I don't try to do everything myself. I do hand projects off so that there's that balance and there's that sanity. But because I don't want to farm out my customer service and my personalization, I do wear a lot of hats. And so it can get a little crazy. So I do things like self-care is like, it's my middle name. And if you talk to customers that know me, they will say, yeah, Lisa's always talking to us about self-care. So I take that to heart. I live that. I mean, for example, when I get up in the morning, I don't just go straight to my desk and start working. I take care of my pets and I water my plants and I do some yoga and I do some meditation and I exercise, I move my body, I have my coffee and my tea. I take care of myself so that I'm grounded, so that when I do sit down and do have conversations with my customers and do live streams and tutorials, I'm really present and I'm not scattered. So I hope that helps answer that question.
No, that's so good. And this is what I want to talk about too, because I feel like sometimes I really feel like our next guest coming up is going to pick up the mic on this one and carry it. Sometimes we can get into this mode where we're either forced into hustle, where you're burning the candle at both ends, or you're forced into feeling like, well, if God wants me to have it, it's going to show up on the doorstep and I don't have to do anything. So as you're growing a successful business, what tips would you give to someone to find the balance between those two things?
I think it took me a while to figure that out, especially as I started when I had younger kids. When I started my business, my kids were 8 and 12. Now they are 20 and 24. So I now have an empty nest. But in the early days, when I was parenting and running a small business, it was harder to find that balance. It was in cracks of time. But wait, can you, I don't want to get carried away with another tangent. Can you ask me that question one more time?
Yes. No, well, I would love to know, yes, how do you find that middle ground? Because I feel like even as you shared your morning routine, you're making those things that matter to you, not what everyone else says, but what matters to you important. So how can we find that middle ground to stand for what matters to us the most?
So defining what you want for your company, for your business, is really important. And like I said, for me, I don't want a huge company to take over. I still want to be able to make what's important my priority. And that is, my health, my family's health, my husband and traveling. I mean, these things are still really important to me. So maintaining a small company and still being able to serve my customers, that was an important clarification for me, so that I never wanted to get out of hand where I get burnout. So when I do hire help, I have people, we call them the Simple Beauty Gals, and they come in twice a week and we work together and we fulfill orders and they fill jars and products and create labels. And I have several VAs who do a lot of the once I realize I'm not happy, I don't want to do this job anymore. Usually it's behind the scenes technology. I farm that out. So I think as you move along, defining what it is you don't love doing and hire that out. Find someone who loves doing that and have them do it. And really clarify what you love doing and keep doing that.
Yes, like my favorite rhyme is delegate what you hate. Like stop doing everything because it takes away from what's important. It can, and it's hard. So this is the next thing that I want to speak to. And then I just kind of want to unpack what you do. And I love the sign behind you about lipstick. So have you ever found it where it was difficult, maybe feeling like delegating it out, maybe things aren't getting done right? I know that's a challenge at times where it's like, well, I delegated it out and it wasn't done right. And so for that reason, we kind of take back the reins. What tips do you have?
Yes. So creating systems as you hire someone. So as I'm realizing that I don't love a task anymore, for example, I don't love making graphic designs. I don't like making images. I'm not great at it. I don't love it. So I created systems as I was doing it, what my process was and how my brand is. I created a brand package, a brand identity. Then when I was ready to hire that position out, I had everything in place and gave her a document and a video and a tutorial. And of course, my graphic designers are better than I am, so they improved on everything. And as they improve on systems, we put them into the document. So having systems behind allows you to take a breath and go, okay, it's handled. So that was a really helpful thing for me.
Yes, that's a mic drop moment. And it's so true because it's like the systems of it all, it makes it so much easier for you too, because then if someone has difficulty following systems, you're not just running through people, you're able to adequately train, go through trial periods, and then make better decisions. But sometimes we make those decisions because we didn't give them time. So I want to talk about lipstick. I want to talk about why it's important for us with what you're most passionate about and teaching the organic way of things. How did you find this niche for you?
Well, I've always been in the cosmetics and beauty industry. Before I had my family, I worked for several cosmetics companies, big cosmetics companies, Aveda, Estee Lauder, and a variety of tasks and positions that I held, and sales rep training, and always loved it. So when it came time for me to think about, okay, my kids are getting older, I want to have something for myself, and I want to create a seed business for when my kids are out and gone, which is now, beauty came right to mind. And the only option for me was healthy beauty, because I think that's the way everything needs to go. So everything that I source, everything that I create and assist in creating, and every handcrafter that I work with, they all have to be working with organic, natural, and safe ingredients as we formulate. So I find that key.
Yes, I love it. So this is the final tip. We're going to bring her back, though. She's not going anywhere. I'm going to bring her back for final thoughts. But so Lisa, you said something that's so good to me about preparing for the future. And I feel like at times, especially as women, when we have children or when we have these responsibilities, we can feel like it's too late. It's too late to try. It's too late to step out. What tips or what encouragement would you give someone that thinks they miss and this is people in their 20s and their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I think they miss their opportunity.
Well, Erica, I was in my late 40s when I started this business, and as I started having kids later in life, so everything was a little bit moved on the later ladder for me. But I still started the business, and now, I mean, I'm 59 and I'm growing this business, and I'm the face of my business, and I teach tutorials, and I don't think there's any age. I think if you have something inside you that's calling you, that's saying, I want out, you need to present me to the world, you've got things to share, you're not too old. You're never too old. It's just taking the first step.
Yes, amen. Someone put that, you're never too old. And it's so true. I say, take the breath test, which is, if you still have breath in your body, there's still time. So I love your energy. I love what you're doing. So for those that want to learn more about what you offer, how we can connect with you, how can we find you and follow you?
Well, the first thing is go to simplebeautyminerals.com, and that is our website. Of course, there's also, I have a customer care group on Facebook. So you would find that. I know I gave the link to you, but I have a business page. Everything is at Simple Beauty Minerals. So Facebook, Simple Beauty Minerals, a customer care group, which is at Simple Beauty Minerals. What is it? I always forget the name of that. Clean Beauty, Makeup, and Skincare, Simple Beauty Minerals. And that's where I can really work with you. And also I have a podcast called Living Visibly After 50. And I completely forgot to share that with you because I just started it this year. So great year to start things, right? 2020.
Yes.
Anyway, Living Visibly After 50 is on style and health and showing up.
I love it. And if it's never too late, as you hear, she has a whole podcast to help you stay visible and keep going, whether you're prepping for 50 or over 50. Lisa, thank you. Don't go anywhere. You have been so encouraging. And for those of you that are watching, if you're looking for a way to join the conversation, my question to you is to define this. Now, I've been reading a book like almost every day. And one of the books that I was reading today, I will encourage you to go get, if you haven't, The Compound Effect. And it talks about identifying those top 3 things. So as we're wrapping up 2020, it is not too late to maximize these next 2 months. So if you had to think of 3 things that you're going to commit to accomplishing before the year end, what are those 3 things? Share it in the chat. If you comment and win, I will send you a book that gives you exactly what to do to bring it to fruition. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I have Abigail, who is backstage and ready, I feel like, to pick up the torch and keep dropping even more nuggets. And I just want to say a big thank you to Dr. Sharita Weatherspoon, who is sponsoring today's episode with an all-new anthology, Love Letters to My Girls. This is an incredible book. She brought together more than 100 authors to share messages of hope, encouragement, inspiration. So thank you to Dr. Sharita. And when we come back, we're finishing up the Be Inspired Cafe. So don't go anywhere. Comment, share, tell a friend. We'll be right back. Birthed out of an idea for her own daughter, Dr. Sharita's vision has now turned into a movement. This wasn't just for her daughter. It was for other sisters and daughters around the world. The Love Letters to My Girls Anthology is a book by Black women and girls, a collaboration of more than 100 women coming together to write letters to inspire, uplift, motivate, and empower the sisterhood. These stories bring you lessons and healing for those worn by their experiences as a Black woman in this world. Get your copy at loveletterstomygirls.com.
Get ready for all new episodes of The Erica Latrice Show. You can join me weekdays at 2 o'clock Eastern across social media at Erica Empowers. That's Erica spelled like America. If you have a message that you want to share on the show, email us right now at info@ericalatrice.com or visit online at ericalatrice.com/be on the show.
Welcome back. And it is time for the Be Inspired Cafe with our next guest up today. Abigail is helping you to launch. Launch is made simple. I almost said lunch. Maybe I'm hungry, but welcome Abigail into the Be Inspired Cafe. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. So I just want to kickstart. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm older than your previous guest, and I've spent my entire life, literally all 60 years, in the branding and marketing space. And I've worked on Fortune 100 companies in New York and Philadelphia, and I've been on the client side in product management, and I've launched products, I've rebranded products, and so I did that while I was in corporate. I had about 15 years of time there. And then the last 24, I've been a home-based entrepreneur. I ran a promotional products business for 16 years. And the last 10, I guess I've been in the brand strategy space. And last year, I partnered with a woman who does marketing implementation so that we could provide done-for-you services to professional service-based entrepreneurs who are looking to monetize their expertise and bring a high value online offer to market.
Amen. I already told you all to grab a notepad, and this is why. So, Abigail, we've been talking about it not being too late. And I really do feel like whatever age we're at right now is the time to decide what's important, what deserves our time, what do we want to see happening a month from now, a year from now, however far from now. So What are some of those life lessons that you've learned, even as you've pivoted in your career and still doing what you love? What tips would you have for someone that's trying to find that balance between passion, I would say, and profit?
Right. Yeah. And that's a great subject. I don't know how long we've got because it may be longer than, the length of the show. It- the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody is to really identify how hard they're willing to work to bring that passion to fruition. Because the person who brings their passion to birth is and wants to have it be a hobby, let it be a hobby, versus the person that's bringing that passion and birthing it into a business, into a bigger business, into scaling, into putting all of those business focused decision making steps in place. There's really a difference between those two. I guess that would be my short answer.
Yes. Well, I'm going to make it a little longer because I love this. It's in fact one of the first questions that I ask, because I get a lot of people that say, like, I want to do this, or I want to grow my audience, which I'm sure you hear a lot.
Yes.
I want to be more visible, as Lisa talked about, but not distinguishing, is this a business idea? Is this something that, as you said, working for a Fortune 100 company, opposed to someone that just has a dream to be able to work from home and, I don't know, add an additional stream to their household income? So what tips would you give to someone to define those things that are important so they're not wasting time or trying to fit into a box that they don't need to try to fit into?
Well, they have to define the box, right? That's the first step. They have to define their box, because let's face it, boxes come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. So I think that the biggest misnomer and myth that a corporate person thinks is that they're going to be an entrepreneur so that they can control their life and do what they want when they want. And I will tell you, I have never worked as hard in corporate as I've worked as an entrepreneur. It is not, people will talk about how easy it is to be an entrepreneur, and it isn't. To build a business, I have always wanted to build businesses. If I'm going all in, right? I don't want to get on a volleyball court just to bat around a ball. I want to win.
Yes.
and win is defined by me in the business world. But when I started my promotional products business back in 1997, my kids were 2 and 5. My husband was self-employed. I had just relocated from the Philadelphia suburbs to the Fort Lauderdale suburbs in Florida. And we needed to put food on our table. There is, I'm not going to make any bones about it. We were both starting fresh. We both had, goals of being busy, building businesses, and shaking the earth. I was out there hawking my business every day of the week to anybody who would listen.
Yes.
And I grew it. It was $1 million its second year. 95% of the promotional products distributors that have been around for years and years and years have never grossed more than $500,000.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, I was elevated into this position of leadership. And I did it because I'm a problem solver. First and foremost, I don't, yes, I understand brand strategy and business strategy. And yes, I understand marketing implementation, but I'm a problem solver because there are no two business people and no two businesses that are alike. So when I say the first thing you have to do is define your box, you have to define it because you need the structure of a box if you're going to run a business. Because if you've got that structure, that structure in place, you are going to naturally make decisions from a very different place than if you're somebody who's looking to make a couple of extra bucks. They don't really need the money. They want to be around for their kids. It would be nice. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't ever want to make somebody feel that their effort isn't worth the effort.
Right.
But stop comparing themselves to the person who's making 6, 7, 8 figures in their industry because they're literally putting forward 24/7.
Mic drop. All right. Thanks everyone for watching.
We're done.
That is so good because I get this a lot and I feel like people will guilt themselves, especially when we're in this online space where everything's at our fingertips, whether through social media, through Google ads, through Google searches. We have so much at our fingertips and we can feel like we need to swipe someone else's life is what it comes down to. This is what I'm doing, swipe it. And you said something that's so key, not apologizing for what's important to you, but then also if you are making this decision to, let's say, build this bigger box, you have to see that there's work ethic required to back it up. So what would you say? Have you noticed any differences from the 1997 yourself and the 2020 yourself? And if you could go back to her and give any advice to her, what would it, or someone that might be where she's at right now in 1997, what tips would you give?
I probably would have been a little kinder on myself. For sure. I was 37 when I started my promotional products business. I wanted to break $1 million before I was 40. I wanted to be, an entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur under 40 with $1 million. And I worked 24/7. And, the greatest thing that I possess is that I'm real, that you get what you get. What you see is what you get 24/7. So people knew I was a mother, people knew I was a wife, people knew my husband was self-employed. I made no bones. I did not show up one way professionally and a different way personally. And so the piece of advice that I would give myself is I did lose a little bit of myself as I was building. And it took me longer to find it because once we were really doing well, you just kind of keep up that level of energy because we're either green and growing, right? Or we're ripe and dying. And so I felt like I had to keep going. And the 2020 self outsources everything but the skill set that she's good at. And the 1997 self, certainly didn't have the outsourced abilities that it has now. So I did a lot more than I do in 2020. I guess that's the biggest difference is the benefit of being in that starting position today at 2020 is that you do have so many ways to outsource things.
Oh, this is so good. Okay. So I'm going to bring Lisa up for our final thoughts because I still have so many questions. I feel like we need to do like a part 2 exclusively for entrepreneurs. Yes. So let's talk about that finally because this comes up a lot and you both have shared it, delegation, outsourcing. And I've shared a story many times where my mentor told me, Erica, why are you doing $10 an hour work when there's someone that needs that $10 an hour work and it's stopping you from creating more? And it just, I was like, oh, because I had to have my hands on everything. And I was that person. And maybe some of you watching can relate to this because this is the advice. I was that person in high school that if there was a group project and anyone else was willing to fail, that was on them, but I'm just going to do the whole group project because I'm not willing. I'm not willing to risk it. So what tips would you give to someone that is struggling with the ability to outsource, whether they feel like they don't have the budget or they don't have the time to teach and train or they don't have they don't want to risk someone else messing it up? What pieces of advice?
May I go?
Yes, let's start with you.
I just think, if you don't, you're not going to make it. You're not going to grow. You're going to burn out and it's going to fall apart. If you're growing, you have to farm out different aspects of your business or it's not going to stay. It's not going to grow.
And I would say that the more time you spend in places where you're not proficient, it just pulls down your mindset. It pulls down your energy. It pulls down so many things. I tell the story when I'm speaking on stages that it took me 3 hours to figure out how to move a PayPal button onto my WordPress site back in like 2000 and something.
I get you.
My web design, you probably could, right? My web designer said, "Oh, it's easy, go to PayPal." And at the time you could talk to PayPal Live. I had 3 phone calls into PayPal and I still couldn't do it. Now I have an MBA, right? So do I think of myself as the smartest person in the room? I don't, but I was like, I can't do this. So for the 3 hours that it took me to not be able to do it and ultimately have my web designer do it, it cost me another full day, because do you now want to get on the call and talk to somebody you're supposed to follow up with? Do you want to write an email? Do you want to do some type of social media post with, "Hey, this is Abigail and I'm having such a great day," when you clearly feel like a disaster of the week?
Yes.
So, the more time you spend in areas where you're not proficient, the more time you're literally draining yourself
Yes.
of energy to spend time where you're good.
Right. And you need to have a full bucket. I mean, that's what it requires, a full bucket of enthusiasm. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just like this. I feel like if no one else benefited, I'm like anti people saying, if I only can reach one person, it was worth it. I'm like, no, it's too much stress being an entrepreneur to do it just for one. Do it for everyone. But I promise you, if this episode only reached one person, it was worth it, because I know the power in when you can free up your mind and free up your time, you can win. So speaking of time, I cannot believe we're out of time, but is there any final thoughts that either of you would like to share, Abigail or Lisa?
I would just say, again, if you have something in your heart, act on it. Act on it.
I mirror that. We need whatever makes you happy.
We need your gifts. Yeah.
We need your gifts.
Right.
Yes. Well, speaking of gifts, y'all are just doing all the perfect transition words. Gifting to Arshana Gupta. Congratulations. You just won a copy of my book, Finish. So just email me, info@ericalatrice.com, your mailing address, and we will be sending to you an autographed copy of Finish to help you conquer those 3 goals that you shared today live. For everyone else that's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow Abigail at Launches Made Simple. You can find Lisa at, I don't want to mess up your, send them to the wrong place.
SimpleBeautyMinerals.com.
SimpleBeautyMinerals.com.
On Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, we're Launches Made Simple everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes, there you go. And you can find me everywhere across social media at Erica Empowers. If this inspired you, if this encouraged you, tell someone, tag a friend. And as I'm always telling you all, and I mean it so much from the bottom of my heart, go out and make today, not yesterday, not last week, not tomorrow. Make today amazing, because it is absolutely a choice. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
For more inspiration, visit us online